Hello, everyone. I and my inner little girl are very excited to share with you that today is the launch day of my creative service to the world. It's called Soulless Compass Healing, and I will put links to my website and my Instagram in the description below. Please do go check it out. I don't want to repeat what I've already written in my website. It's super clear, straightforward, and concise, so check it out. But essentially, I am offering one-on-one sessions as a start. And these sessions of support incorporate evolutionary astrology as well as energy reading. And if I meet with a person more than once, there is a opening of a door to dive into Akashic record reading, which is past life stuff, and so there's an opportunity to be with me for one session, and there's an opportunity to journey with me for 4 sessions, and it is a genuine expression of my heart to offer this at this time. So yeah, please do check it out, and if it's in alignment with you, then let's meet. Today I'm going to be talking about the new moon in Gemini coming up on June 17th, 2023. And I'm going to give a little bit of a taster, I suppose, of what the merging of evolutionary astrology and an energy reading entails. And so I'm just going to do my thing, and then towards the end I will be sharing with you what I saw in my energy reading of this new moon, and we will connect the dots. I think it would be a fun way to give a small example of what this looks, feels, tastes like. So, alrighty. I'm just going to spout off a few technical things that are heavily informing how I'm looking at this new moon chart. So on June 11th, we had Pluto retrograde back into 29 degrees of Capricorn, which he will stay until January 22nd, 2024. We also have just a reminder that Pluto is sextile Neptune and is trine Ceres and Sedna, while also still squaring the moon's nodes. Also, on the morning of this new moon, so just hours before the new moon, Saturn is turning retrograde at 7 degrees of Pisces. And we have Venus in her first quarter square to Jupiter, and this square will repeat itself twice more this summer. And to this aspect, I have one question. Are our creations, our self-expression, coming from an authentic place of self-sovereignty and of knowing our inner values? Now I would like to take some time to dig into a very important ingress. On June 15th, Sedna entered the sign of Gemini. And as she did this, the moon was right there at 29 degrees Taurus, where she's been sitting for quite some time. And also, as she did that, Mercury was at 7 degrees of Gemini, and at the time of this new moon, Mercury is going to be at 11 degrees of Gemini, and the north node of Uranus is at 14 degrees of Gemini. So there's that going on, which I think is fascinating, as Mercury is Sedna's new ruler now. And in true Gemini fashion, I want to just spout out a few facts about Sedna. She has a 11,000 year highly elliptical orbit. She is the color of Mars, pretty much. She's red. She is going to be, so she is actually far beyond Pluto. She is one of the first objects to be discovered in what is called the Oort cloud, which is said to be a collection of icy objects, which could be the source of many comets. And in her massive orbit, where she goes way out into deep space and reaches this point where she's closest to the Earth, that point is happening in 2075, 2076. So in the grand scheme of things in reference to Sedna, it's happening very soon. And the last time that this happened, the last time that she was this close to the Earth was emerging out of the Ice Age. So great shifts were happening, needless to say. And so after that little spouting out of facts, I want to really sink into this ingress, as with the slowness of Sedna, there is this gift where we can really relax into the embodied experience, the very grounded experience of Sedna. The parts of her that relate to ecological justice, the parts of her that relate to honoring our own inner values, and we can really feel into this transition of Taurus into Gemini. Like 0 degrees Gemini, that's like pure, full Gemini energy. And when we are coming from this embodied place of slowness and entering into curiosity about our environment, about our reality, about how we construct our reality, about what makes up our reality, about all of the shape-shifting and magical things that we cannot explain in our reality. There is this gift that is curiosity in slow motion. And I really do believe that, I guess to this image just popped into my head. It's like a bug having its feet on the earth and its antenna slowly slowly going up and like being in that state of like utter embodied groundedness, and also receiving the signs and symbols of nature. And so, yeah, I just think that this is really special, and something to definitely, I mean, for myself anyways, I can't speak for anyone else, but it's a potent time to take time and meditate on this. And yeah, so now I want to merge into explaining some themes around Sedna. And so I just want to say that Sedna she is a creation goddess. She is a creation mother in the Inuit tradition, and there are, there often is, a few different versions of the story. And I'm just going to share a few main themes that throughout all of these versions Sedna represents. A transformational journey. Once you leave the known, the community, family expectations behind you, and you live with a shapeshifter, receiving sustenance, providing sustenance for oneself, there comes a time when you can't go back. The only option is to surrender to the unknown, and by doing so, you become the birth parent to something new. That something will recognize you as their birth parent, and there will forever be a symbiotic relationship of reciprocity which sustains the creator and creation. And now I would like to bridge Sedna's relationship with Pluto. So she's trine Pluto right now. They share a strong characteristic in common, and this is that of transformation. The evolutionary journey that is inherent in a creator creating something outside of themselves. And so with Pluto's retrograde back into the last degree of Capricorn, reviewing recent history and how we've gotten to the point we are currently at in relation to how society is structured. It's time to really understand where the cracks are, especially since Pluto is squaring the nodes. It can be far too easy to turn a blind eye to this. As I've said before, if we don't look at the iceberg beneath the surface, we will continue sinking Titanics. And so Sedna is holding this space for us to slow down and get curious about what is and isn't working in our society. She may have shape-shifting solutions. She may ask us to let go of the known. She may ask the creator in each of us to open up our mouths and express our true nature. As we prepare for the age of Aquarius, I see there's a way to find out more about Sedna and her relationship with Pluto. By putting our antenna out into the ether and seeing what comes through. And as I mentioned, Mercury, her new ruler, being conjunct the north node of Uranus at the time of this new moon, the fusion of Gemini and Aquarian energy, also because Sedna, there's a lot of Aquarian energy to her story as well. Being isolated, not wanting to conform with her community, the suitors, the partners that were on offer. And so, yeah, I really do appreciate the merging of Gemini, Aquarian energy. Clearly I have it in my chart, but it's about objectively interpreting the signs and symbols that are presented to us and using that knowledge to propel humanity further on its evolutionary journey. To be free from the known. So, yeah, and this is really the essence of my work. Is I am not a healer. I don't even really like calling myself an astrologer. I'm simply an interpreter of the signs and symbols of nature. And to me, nature is God. And so I am a vessel, a mirror, a space holder. And very honored to be an interpreter of this symbolic language of nature in service to humanity's evolution, of course. I also want to speak about Juno being conjunct this new moon. And so there's another ground cross. So we've got Juno, Sun and Moon opposite the galactic center, also squaring Neptune and Ceres. And the galactic center, by the way, is the black hole in the center of our galaxy, which is what it is. We don't know. And is holding all of this together to make life happen. Of course, in conjunction and communion with everything else that is doing so. But it's a very, very important point, obviously, in our universe, in our galaxy. As Jeffrey Wolf Green pointed out, we are the projection of our Creator into individual forms. The Creator is curious and has the desire to know itself, to learn about itself through our dance with union and separation. If we're honest with ourselves, anything we create or birth, including our relationships, go through this same curious dance of union and separation. Just when we think we've cracked it, understood it, it shapeshifts into the next evolutionary step. Maintaining a beginner's mind is a humbling endeavor. As we so clearly in the symbolism of this moon opposing the galactic center, this beginner's mind and curiosity is so helpful in our relationships as we surrender to that which we do not know. the black hole of holding all of this thing called life together. There are forces beyond our control. In the complexity of relationships, we are kidding ourselves if we think we can ever fully know someone. Everything, everyone is evolving. Imagine what radical shifts could be birthed into our reality if we simply embodied curiosity in our relationships with self and other. Would it be so that we would not be so quick to judge? Would it be so that unhealthy relationships dynamics would not have the fertile ground of assumptions to grow upon? I also want to speak to another major theme that jumped out at me. There is Venus, Mars, Pallas Athena, Black Moon Lilith, all within a broad conjunction in Leo, opposing a broad conjunction of Chariklo and Hygeia in the sign of Aquarius, of course. It's important to note that Mars and Venus will continue dancing closely with one another, but will actually not form an exact conjunction, as over the summer Venus will retrograde in Leo. And also from now until mid-July, Mars will be culminating and initiating new phases with Pallas Athena and Black Moon Lilith. New cycles. There is an objective holding and clearing space in which we can explore our subjective experience of our inner masculine and feminine, yin and yang, consciousness, unconsciousness, or subconsciousness. Might there be tension when casting an objective lens on our most personal and unique nature? Likely. Knowing that our soul is inherently androgynous while also being where we are at in our evolutionary journey and owning the dance of our inner yin and yang is surely a balancing act. Interpreting the symbols, whether they be body aches, relationship dynamics, of our inner yin and yang is necessary to determine what skin is ready to be shed. This can be observed in a very embodied way. For example, if the left side of our body is tense and withdrawn, and the right side is like bolstering forward and kind of like always on guard, might that be an indication of an over-reliance on our masculine and a dismissal of our feminine? And I just want to be very clear here that I'm referring to masculine, feminine, yin, yang, in a purely energetic sense, and this not being about gender identity. Yeah. And so, yeah, the ways that this manifests is it really can be so tangible. You know, it's it can be how we experience our body, how we hold our body, where the pain in our body is. It can be what are the relationships dynamics that we continue to see being played out. It can be it can be very difficult to for the light of objectivity to penetrate these worlds. It can be very confusing because we are subject to our subjective reality, right? That just is the nature of being in a human, is we can only view ourselves so to a certain degree before we need a reference point or a mirror of another to help us to see the full picture. I'm just gonna check my messy notes for a sec. Yes. Okay. And so when I did the energy reading for this new moon, I will share with you what I saw, and then I'll explain my take on it, and would also love to hear from you all if you glean something else from it, because that's the fun and really the truth of all of this, is that we all have our individual way of seeing and interpreting these signs and cycles in nature, and it's I think it's important to share how we see things differently than another, and together we might be able to piece together the whole picture. That certainly is how I approach my sessions. I am not the knower, expert, or anything like that. I am a co-creator with you in interpreting these signs and symbols. So, okay, what I saw was like a cartoon sun with a lion's face in it over some like green rolling hills, and the sun was going from right to left, and it just continued going, like seemingly underneath the hills, and when it did so, it was like nighttime, and then it would come up over the horizon, and that was sunshine, and then it was darkness, and then it was sunshine, and then it was darkness. And then a tail popped up, the lion's tail popped up. The lion's eyes went from basically in opposition to the tail. This sort of shape-shifting or trickster energy. And then second scene, I was on the edge of a cliff, and this cartoon lion or whatever became a real looking lion and fell off the edge of the cliff and went down this very dark, black, actually, canyon, very deep canyon, and I wanted to rescue it, and I reached out my hand, and from my hand, all of these I laugh because it's, sometimes they're comical. There was these Mickey Mouse hands in sequence coming out from my hand that somehow managed to save the lion, and the lion came up, stood beside me on the cliff again, and then became very personified, like he was a person. And he said, "I don't know about you and me, but all of us were family." And that was it. And I really do believe that this imagery speaks to the Gemini archetype and the Leo archetype, because the lion's in there, right? So in our process of self-actualization, in our process of protecting ourselves, taking care of ourselves, having pride for ourselves, expressing ourselves, how does that relate to our inward polarized aspects of self and the outward polarized aspects of the world around us and how we interpret it? Personally, I've had quite a journey with understanding my inner yin and yang, and have certainly experienced those energies shape-shifting and being in opposition and being in union and everything in between. And so yeah, that does greatly affect how I present in the world, how I radiate my self-expression, my self-actualization, right? And so in this constantly changing landscape, because I do think like Gemini is a mutable sign, right? It's always shape-shifting, pretty much. And so in that sort of, yeah, within that process, it's yeah, I think it's important to remember that in the end we are all family, you know? Like, I think it's funny that he said to me, I don't know about you and me, because like, sure, there's some people in this world that I would say that to too. Like, I don't know if we're family. But somehow, this moon, I guess, being in opposition to galactic center, the message wants to come through that, yeah, you know, in the grand scheme of things, we are all humans. And we're all at the stage of our evolutionary journey that we are at, and that just simply is how it is. And polarization is simply a part of nature, and there is a lot that we don't know, and there's a lot that's constantly changing. And yeah, I think that is feeling complete. But really, essentially, it's really coming down to those inner yin yang energies, and the shape shifting of that inner landscape is, it does greatly impact our self-actualization, which inherently impacts how we radiate outwards and form. So it's about relationship with self and other, which is what Juno is all about, and she's right there on the moon, on the new moon with us. So yeah, that is a fun little demo of a simple energy reading. And yeah, I really do want to say thank you for sharing time and space with me somehow today. And please do go and check out my website. I would love to hear what you think about it. Check out my Instagram, like, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff, and share this with folks who you think would benefit from it. I would very much appreciate that. So until next time, yeah, have fun with this shape-shifting energy as much as we possibly can, and yeah, remaining in our bodies to receive these messages and just continue on through the spiral. Thank you.